All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to look at society through a totally different lens. We're diving into a fascinating paper from 1989 that suggests our communities aren't just collections of people, they're real, tangible, physical systems, kind of like a bridge or a building.
So let's dive right in. The paper kicks things off with a question that honestly sounds almost impossible to answer. It asks this really bold question. Can we take the methods of physics, the stuff that so brilliantly explains the collective behavior of atoms, and actually apply them to us, to human beings? It's a huge ambition in science, but one that has always seemed just out of reach.
And this slide really lays out the core challenge perfectly. On the one hand, you've got atoms. They're all identical, and they follow pretty simple rules. And that lets us predict their collective behavior, like the temperature of a gas. But on the other hand, you have us. We're all unique individuals with incredibly complex motivations, which makes our collective actions seem hopelessly chaotic and unpredictable.
Yeah, and the paper really hammers this point home. Unlike identical electrons, every single one of us is different. That seems to make finding any kind of universal pattern in society pretty much impossible. So, how in the world can we find a set of rules that applies to all of us?
Okay, so if just taking a snapshot in time is way too messy, where do we even begin to look for these patterns? Well, the paper's answer is simple, but it's a big one. We have to completely change our perspective.
The central idea here is a pretty profound shift in strategy. Instead of getting bogged down in the chaos of day-to-day life,
the secret is to step way, way back. We have to observe behavior not over minutes or days, but over an entire lifetime. It's only at that massive scale that the real, stable patterns start to emerge from all that noise. And this leads us right to the paper's core concept, what it calls the niche, or a dynamical state. Basically, you can think of it as a sustained pattern of constrained behavior, like a role or a commitment that you maintain over a really long period of time. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine a professional ballet dancer who dedicates their entire life to their craft. That lifelong, dedicated commitment creates a real, tangible structure in the community, a stable, predictable pattern. Now contrast that with someone who just tries a new hobby every month. That doesn't create any lasting structure at all. It's the sustained commitment that's the key here. So let's see how this all builds into a complete framework. Because this perspective argues that these long-term commitments, they're not random at all. They actually fall into some very distinct categories. And according to this model, all of these sustained patterns, these niches, they all fall into one of 6 fundamental categories: the individual, the pair bond, family, social hierarchy, cultural belief systems, and fields of specialized literacy. And these aren't just, separate buckets. They all interconnect to form the incredibly complex web of a functioning society. And what's great about this is that these aren't some abstract academic concepts, right? They're the commitments we all recognize in our own lives. Looking after yourself, being a good partner, playing your role in the family, being a good citizen, following a belief system, and upholding professional standards. These are the sustained patterns we all see and live every day.
All right, now get ready, because here comes the paper's biggest and honestly most mind-bending claim. This niche structure we've been talking about, it's not just a metaphor. It's not just a cool way of organizing ideas.
The author argues that these patterns, these commitments, are a real, measurable, and incredibly important physical part of the world we live in. Just like a bridge or a skyscraper, the sustained commitment of a teacher to their students is a real piece of the world's physical structure. Wild, right?
I mean, think about it. That deep desire we all have to leave a positive mark on society, to leave the world a little better than we found it. That's basically proof that we get this intuitively. We want to build these patterns, these structures that will last even after we're gone. Okay, so if we accept this idea that our commitments are actual physical structures, what does that really mean for us? Why does seeing society this way even matter?
and this is crucial. This is not just some academic thought experiment. It has powerful, real-world implications for how we understand some of the biggest questions in life.
So for example, it gives us a new way to measure the impact of a disaster. We can look beyond just the body count and actually measure the damage to the social fabric, the broken commitments and roles that hold the community together. It also gives us a pretty powerful model for how human culture even emerged in the first place, seeing it as the evolution of those last two niches, our shared beliefs and our specialized knowledge. And maybe, most profoundly of all, it offers a brand new definition of freedom. And this right here,
This is a profound reframing of a value we hold so dear. In this view, real freedom isn't about casting off all constraints, having no rules or commitments. No, it's the liberty to choose our commitments, to freely pick our partner, our profession, our government, our beliefs. It's about having the power to decide for yourself which structures you will dedicate your life to building and maintaining.
So, if there's one key takeaway from all this, it's that the patterns we maintain throughout our lives, those long-term promises we keep, they are so much more than just personal decisions. They are the physical structure of our world. The commitments we honor day in and day out, year after year, they are literally building the world around us.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty provocative thought. If our lifelong commitments are what create the physical structure of society, then it's worth asking ourselves, what structures are you building?